Hello and welcome back to the channel. In the previous video, we saw how to set up our environment. We installed Java and we also installed Eclipse as our IDE. In this video, we're going to be writing our first Java program. We're going to open Eclipse and the first step is going to be creating a project. So we're going to go to File, New, and we're going to pick Java Project. We're going to give our project a name. We're going to call it First Program, and we can change the location where we want our project to be stored. For this, I'm going to choose the default location, and we can press on Next, then Finish. Now, if we look at the left side, we can see that a new folder has been created, which is called First Program. And if we expand this folder, we can see that we have JRE system library and SRC. The JRE system library is going to contain the different Java APIs we talked about in the previous video. And the second folder, named SRC or source, is where we're going to save our Java files. So we're going to head to source and we're going to right click. Then we're going to go to new. And as we saw in the previous video, all the concepts we're going to be seeing are going to be related to classes and objects. So here we're going to be creating a new class. So we're going to pick class. We can give our class a name. We're going to call it Hello World. There's a naming convention we should follow when naming our classes. This convention is starting each word with a capital letter. This means in our file name we have a capital H and a capital W. One more thing we need to do is head to public static void main, and we're going to click on the checkbox. And finally, we're going to click on Finish. Now, if we look at the left panel, we can see that in the source folder, we have something that says default package. We're going to look at packages later in this course. And inside the default package, we have our Java file. And in this file, we have some generated code that we're going to break down. When we look at the first line, we have the keyword public. This is what is called an access modifier, and its purpose is to decide the accessibility of our class. So if we set it to public, that means our class can be accessed by other classes. And if we set it to private, that means other classes cannot access components of our class. Then we have the keyword class. This is going to be used when we want to create our own class. And finally, we have Hello World, which is the name of our class. Here you may have noticed that the name of our class and the name of our Java file is the same. There are rules that we have to follow when naming our file. If we have more than one class in our file, we can only have one public class, and the name of that public class should match the name of our file. And if we don't have any public classes in our file, the name of the class that contains the main method should be the name of our file. Next, we're going to see what the main method is. Again, we have the keyword public. That means this method can be accessed by other classes. The keyword static means that an object does not need to be created in order to access this method. We're going to look at this keyword more in depth later in this course. Then we have the keyword void. This means that the main method does not return anything. Later, we're going to look at methods that do return. And in that case, we're going to have a data type instead of the word void. And finally, we have the method name, which is main. Methods are blocks of code that do a specific task, and these methods can take input. In the case of the main method, it takes in a string array as input. We're going to look at this in more depth when we learn about arrays in Java. One thing we have to note here is that the main method is a special type of method, and if we want our Java program to run, it must be included in this exact format in our class. When we go inside the main method, we have what is called a comment. Comments are notes that we add to our code that are ignored by the compiler. So they are notes that we keep for ourselves, or they're notes that we keep so other people reading our program can understand what our code does. In Java, we can have three types of comments: a single line comment like the one we have here. We can also have a multi-line comment. The difference is that a single line comment spans a single line and a multi-line comment spans multiple lines. Now to create a multi-line comment, we're going to have a slash followed by a star. Then we can have whatever text we want, and we end it by having a star followed by another slash. The third type of comment is a Javadoc. A Javadoc is a special type of comment that is used to generate documentation for our code. This documentation could include the purpose of different methods, the type of input they take, and what they return. So to define a Javadoc, we're going to have a slash followed by 2 stars. And similar to multi-line comments, we can have whatever we want. And to end a Javadoc, we're going to use a star followed by a slash. Now, the first functionality we're going to be looking at is how to display text to the terminal or console. So we're going to clear out the comments we created. And in our main method, we're going to type in System.out.println. And in parentheses, we're going to have double quotes, and we're going to put in hello, world, and finally we're going to have a semicolon. When we break this line up, first we have system. This is a predefined class that we get when we install the JDK, and we know it's a class because of the naming convention it follows. As we said, classes have the first letter of each word capitalized. So since we have a capital S, we know that system is a class. Using the dot operator, we can access different components inside the system class. And the component we're accessing is out, which is a static field. We're going to see what static fields are when we define our own classes. For now, all we need to know is that out represents output. Next, we have println, which stands for print line. Println is a method. We know this because when calling or using methods, they are followed by parentheses, just like the main method. Finally, inside the parentheses, we put in a value that we want to get printed out. In our case, we have what is called a string. A string in Java is a sequence of characters that are stored inside double quotes. Using the println method, we can print out strings, numbers, and other data types. Finally, when we've finished writing our statement, we use a semicolon. We use semicolons when we want to end a single statement. Now, when it comes to running our code, if we were using a simple notepad, we would have to run a series of commands. So the first command would be javac, followed by the name of our file, which is hello world.java. Now, if you remember the steps of executing a Java file, the javac is a compiler that is going to convert our file into bytecode. And to execute this bytecode, we need to run java followed by hello world. And if we press enter, nothing actually displays. That is because we haven't saved our file. So we're going to head back to Eclipse and save our file. Now, if we compile our file again, and if we execute our bytecode, we get hello world displayed to the terminal. However, if we are using an IDE, we can simply press on the run button to execute our code. We get hello world displayed. Now, if you're using Eclipse, you can use a shortcut. So for example, if we replace the text with Ethiopia, and if we save our file, you can run the file using the shortcut Ctrl plus F11, and your program will run. Another thing we can see here is the print statement instead of println. The difference between print and println is that when we're using println, whatever statements we have after are going to be on a new line, but when we use print, whatever statement we have after is going to be on the same line. So we can see this if we have another print statement. So we're going to say System.out.print, and we're going to print out an ! Now if we save our file and if we run it, we see that the exclamation mark is displayed on the same line. Now if we had println instead, and if we ran our file again, we would have the exclamation mark on a new line. So that is the difference between print and println. Another type of printing we can have is using printf. When using printf, first we're going to provide a format that we want our output to follow, and we're going to give it arguments to substitute in that format. So we can have in double quotes %s, \n, which represents a new line. Then we're going to have another %s, a \n, %s, and a \n. So the %s is a placeholder for a string, so we can substitute in a string value. To do that, we're going to have a comma, and for the first %s, we're going to substitute welcome. For the second %s, we're going to substitute to, and for the third %s, we're going to substitute Java programming. And something we shouldn't forget is when we finish a single statement, we need to end it with a semicolon. Now if we save our file and run our code, we get welcome to Java programming on separate lines. That is because we used the \n. In the next video, we're going to be looking at how to take input in Java. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more programming content.